In this fourth chapter of Gita, we have seen first three verses where Lord Krishna had explained that he was the one at the beginning of this universe, gave the knowledge of Karma Yoga to Lord's Son. This particular chapter is about not Karma Yoga alone, but beyond Karma Yoga as well. Karmani Yoga, Karma Yoga. Yoga, as we usually know it as, is a practice. But here in Gita, yoga to be contextually understood as a path to perfection, a path to enlightenment. While engaging in this world, how can we prepare ourselves for enlightenment? As it is contradictory to usual belief that enlightenment or moksha is possible only when we give up everything. Now the question is, should we give up consciously as an act of giving up, or we should grow to that maturity? Krishna believes that one cannot forcefully give up action, one should grow beyond action. Just like your child who is playing with the teddy bear and this and that, when it is a small child, when it grows to become a teenager, it grows out of it. It doesn't need that anymore. It doesn't need the company of this teddy bear or all other toys. Some people still keep it, that's a different thing. Maybe it is the memory. But I don't need it anymore because I don't find any more joy in that. Instead of toy, they will have boy. Toys are not necessary. If grown would be a teenager, then I enjoy being company of the boys. Tarunastavat taruni sakta. Not I am saying. Shankaracharya said this. So, that giving up is not a conscious giving up. It is growing. Growing to the next level. Gradually. In the same way, karma tyaga is not what is talked here, karma yoga is taught. How to grow beyond action? First to give up the anxiety for results of the action. Then slowly understanding that by giving up the anxiety for the result of action, you no more you have an interest in doing only kamya karma or selfish actions. You find greater interest in doing selfless actions. And by thus doing a selfless action more, your mind has become relatively pure, and as such a pure mind is ready for higher knowledge. This transformation, this growing up is what is taught here in this chapter. And this I have given at the time of creation. Ivam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avyayam vivasvan manave praha manurikshvakave braveet. This yoga I taught to Lord's Son in the beginning, in the Pura, in the past, and that son gave to his son, Manu, and Manu gave to his son, Ikshvaku, in this way. Evam parampara praptam imam rajashayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. This knowledge that has been passed on from one generation to another, in due course of time, has lost its power, because people who were teaching to the next generation not necessarily have practiced this. And when the practice is not behind the teaching, the efficacy, the importance, the power is lost. So therefore, that very knowledge which I gave at that time, I am giving it to you also right now. Saye vayam maya tedya yoga prokta puratanaha. I have given to you today that very knowledge which I gave at that time of creation. Why did I give it to you? Bhakto sime saka cheti rahasyam hedaduttamam. You are my devotee and you are my friend, and therefore I gave it to you. So in the Upanishads, the supreme Lord or supreme nature, supreme truth is referred as nameless, formless, dimensionless, abstract being, Brahman. In the Upanishads, which is considered to be the classic, the Upanishads is considered as the philosophical classics in the Hindu texts or spiritual texts and spiritual literature, and their concept of worshipping God in any particular form is not prescribed. It's not even a practice at that time. But in Gita, what we find, that impersonal God, that nameless, formless, abstract nature of Brahman taking a personal form for the deity, for the devotee. That's the beauty of Gita. The impersonal Brahman become a personal deity. For the sake of the devotees, for the sake of those who are seekers, it is necessary, there must be a demonstration. It has to be shown as reality, it's a possibility. Otherwise, there will not be any conviction in the mind of this devotee. So, one commentator says beautifully, Bhaktaha Sharanagataha Sakha Preeti Vishaya. A devotee as well as, it is said, a devotee as well as your friend. So, a devotee as well as a friend. A devotee is one who surrenders. Bhaktaha Sharanagataha. So, if you call it yourself as a devotee of any particular God, you are supposed to have surrendered your interest to that Lord. Meaning, thy will be done, not mine. That is Sharanagati. Like Vibhishna did to Rama. I am no more interested in anything of my own. Whatever you say, I will do. Thy will be done. Your command. So, Bhaktaha Sharanagataha. And that we saw in Arjuna also, that he says, no, I do not know what to do. You teach me what I am supposed to do. Yashreyasya nishchitam bruhitan me shishyah te aham shadimam. I am your disciple. You instruct me. Prapannaha aham. Prapatti means to surrender. So, Arjuna has surrendered to Krishna, and therefore he says, Krishna says, you are a bhakta. And also he said, you are a sakha, you are a friend, because you have preeti vishaya. Because of your affinity towards me. And that is why you are listening to me. Not only that, I have you as my companion, and you have me as your companion. So both you are, Bhaktaha api, Sakha api, and therefore it is said, Bhakto sime Sakha cheti, etat rahasyam uttamam, this supreme secret I am revealing to you. Now Arjuna is a little confused. Because only to a friend you can ask direct questions. He is no doubt a devotee to Lord, but doesn't mean that he will accept anything and everything. So that is the beauty of the relationship between Arjuna and Krishna. No doubt he has great regard and reverence towards Krishna, but that doesn't mean whatever you say is correct. No. You may be right, but I don't understand. Then only there is a discussion possible. Otherwise, no question at all. Whatever I say, you have to follow. Then you are a slave. So the bhakta is given all rights and all freedom to ask questions. And that is why in Upanishad also, all the teachings are in the form of conversation, not conversion. You can ask questions. You can ask me whether what I am saying is right or not, how practical it is, how useful it is, how to make it easy for it. So all those things, any doubt you can ask. So here Arjuna had a doubt. What is it? You said that you have given this knowledge at the beginning of creation. But I see you in front of me. How is that possible? Logically not possible. You, the one who is standing in front of me, is the same one who gave this knowledge at the beginning of creation. Therefore he says, we read, please repeat after me. Arjuna uvacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvatah katametat vijaniyam tvamadau proktavaniti. Arjuna uvacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvatah katametat vijaniyam tvamadau proktavan iti. Vivasvatah janma param. The birth of sun is way, way, way in the past, ancient. Nobody knows when it was. Bhavatah janma aparam. Your birth is later, recently. As I see you now, probably you are 70 years old, 75 years old. When this conversation was taking place, their difference of age between Arjuna and Krishna was only some few years. Krishna was 70 plus. At that time. By many scholars it is said that he was 70 plus. And Bhishma was something around 252 plus. Because he has seen so many generations of people. Dronacharya and all those things, some 100 plus, 120 plus. With no pacemakers, no extra knee, none of those. Dradagatra, very much strong and ready to fight. 25, 30 itself we are after. 70, 75, 80. So he says, you, the one who is born much, much later, and sun was so ancient in the past. Vivasva, that vivasvataha janma param, bhavataha janma aparam. So, how do I know? Katam edat vijaniyam. How do I understand this? Tvam, you, adau proktavan. You spoke at the beginning of this universe. How? My ears are already pierced. In India, South India, there is a useful usage. If somebody is telling you a pure black lie or white lie, whatever it is, don't pierce my ears. Meaning that I am not standing there, okay, now pierce. I am not a fool. Topi mat laga. Don't put topi on my head. I am not ready for it. You don't fool me. How is that? Now there is a logical questioning here. Very interesting. Now let us see why this question is relevant. First, are you a human being? Let us say that you are a human being. Arjuna says, you are a human being. If you are human, obviously a human body made up of elements, 5 elements, air, water, fire, air, space, etc. Made of matter. This matter envelopment is making that your physical body, you are human. And as a human being, or any living being for that matter, gross body, is meant for experiencing the result of the past actions. Therefore, we have no choice in what form we would come here. Our actions decide this particular form. That's why we are so peculiar, and each one is so different. So, as a human body, that means you are also bound by actions. If you are a human like me, how is that you remember and I don't? If you say that you gave the knowledge that time, let us say that I have also taken many lives and you have also taken many lives. But if you could remember and I don't remember, how is that? If you were there at that time. But definitely not in this form. See, as a human, the son of Vasudeva, you are not there. Correct? Vasudeva Putra, you are just 70, 75 years old. You are not a Vasudeva Putra when if you said that you have given the knowledge at the past, then at that time you are not a Vasudeva Putra. So, therefore, I ask you this question. How is that I should understand you, the Krishna, had given this knowledge at the time of creation? How is that possible? Second thing is, let us say, that you say, no, I am Ishvara. I am the Lord. Oh. If you are the Lord, what is the purpose of having this human body then? This particular form? And if you say that I have given this knowledge at that time, at the time of creation, then, if that is the case, you are the Lord of all living beings, you are dwelling in everybody's heart. If you are living in everybody's heart, this body belongs to whom then? And you are not bound by karma. If you are Ishvara, the Lord, then you are not bound by the karma. Then what is the purpose of this physical body? My first question is, were you there as you are right now at that time also? As Krishna? No, that is not possible. And if you say that you as Krishna you are able to remember the time when you gave the knowledge to Lord Son at the beginning of the universe, then every human being must be able to remember the past. Thank God we don't remember. Is it not true that we don't remember our own past? Even what had happened some few days back, we are capable of forgetting. If we were to remember all that happened yesterday, or day before, or years, not a single moment you can be happy. What to talk of previous lives? So here the question was relevant for Arjuna because he wanted to clarify, who are you basically? I want to know who you are. Are you this Krishna who is in this form standing in front of me as son of Vasudeva? If you are that Lord who was there in the beginning of the universe, then what is the purpose of this particular form which you have taken up now? And are you bound by the action like any one of us? See, we are, having taken this physical body, brought into this limitation of identification with this physical body, and we cannot think of ourselves otherwise. Is it not? Have you ever thought of yourself other than this physical body? Anytime? No relationship with anybody in this world. Because all relationships are connected with this physical body only. If you say, I am a son, I am a daughter, I am a brother or sister or a wife or husband, whatever is the relationship that you have, it's all connected to this physical form. With respect to this only, you are son of somebody or daughter of someone, brother of someone, sister, brother, husband, wife. What all these things are connected to this physical body. So have you ever seen yourself without reference to this physical body and its relationship connected to it? So that means as a living being, all of us are pretty much identified with this physical body. That is what is called Jiva. Are you the one like that? associated, identified with your physical form? If you are not, what is the purpose? So Krishna smiles and said, very good. Let me tell you one thing. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bahuni me vyatitani Janmani tavacharjuna Tanyaham Veda Sarvani Natvam Veta Parantapa Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bahuni me vyatitani Janmani tavacharjuna Tanyaham Veda Sarvani Natvam Veta Parantapa. Bhagavan is called Bhagavan because he has 6 qualities. It's the 6 qualities together, they are called Bhaga. Not the way we call it. Hey Bhaga, come here. That is beggar. Here, Bhaga. Bhaga means one who has these 6 qualities. It is mentioned in Vishnu Purana. Aishwaryasya samagrasya dharmasya yashasa shriyah vairagyasya mokshasya shannam bhaga idingana. Aishwaryasya samagrasya dharmasya shriyah dharmasya yashah shriyah. Samagrasya, a complete manifestation of all kind of majesty. Aishwaryasya samagrasya. So, majestic, rulership, first quality. Ishwaratvam. Second, dharma. He is aware of what is right. Always. Dharmasya, Aishwaryasya samagrasya dharmasya, then yashasaha, of fame, Shri, beauty, Vairagya, dispassion, Moksha, liberation. These are the 6 things. He who possesses all these things in full measure is called Bhagavan. Aishwaryasya samagrasya dharmasya yashasasriyah vairagyasya mokshasya shanna bhaga idingana. These are the 6-fold qualities of lordship. And also in another place it is said, Utpattim pralayam chaiva bhutanam agatim gatim Vetti vidyam avidyam cha vachyo bhagavan iti. Sacha vachyo bhagavan iti. Utpattim pralayam chaiva. He is aware of the creation and dissolution of the universe. Bhutanam agatim gatim. The reason why the living beings have come about and reason why they live. And also, Vetti vidyam avidyam cha. He is also aware of what is ignorance, what is knowledge. Savachyo Bhagavan. He is called Bhagavan. So when you say Bhagavan Uvacha, it's not, see here, Krishna Uvacha is not said. None in the whole of Bhagavad Gita you will not have the statement, Sri Krishna Uvacha. No. Bhagavan Uvacha. Because when he comes to that battlefield, he was Krishna. When he starts teaching, he has become Bhagavan. Meaning, not become Bhagavan, he manifests his lordship. He says here in this verse, many lives of mine have passed by. Bahuni janmani veditani. Mine, Many lives have passed by. Tavacha, yours also. Here is a beautiful explanation on the concept of rebirth. In Gita, here is one place where the idea of reincarnation or rebirth is specified. Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacha Arjuna. Many lives of mine have passed away, and also yours, Arjuna. Meaning what? We are all ancient souls. We are all, how ancient do you know? At least minimum 84,000 lives you have completed. Bhagavan, that means I had 84,000 husbands. Probably yes. 84,000 wives. Yeah. Around 100,000 children. Possibly yes. Each time let us say 2 minimum. Yes. 100,000. More than that actually. And their children and their grandchildren, then their actually, Vasudha Eva Kutumbakam. The whole because everybody is related to you at some life, sometime. Huh? Vasudha Eva Kutumbakam. So you and I have gone through many lives. Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacha Arjuna. But the difference is, Krishna says, Tani sarvani aham veda. I know all of those. Natvam. You don't. Natvam veda. Thank God. Again, you have to thank the Lord for that, because we cannot tolerate that. You cannot hold that knowledge with us. Is it not that you are thankful that we forget? We are able to forget? You know, I'm sure all of you are using computer. All of you have your own email account, correct? Who in this assembly does not have an email account? Raise your hand. Nobody. That means every one of you have. There's one person. That. Namaskar, aapko. You are saved from this world. Blessed are you. Danyosi. So, each one. Now, I receive at least 50 to 60 emails a day. I know, some of you may be more, some of you may be less. At some point of time, you feel like deleting the old ones or not? Yes or no? Yes. I hope you do. I do at least. Imagine keeping all of them in your computer. And not only just keeping, they pop up again and again. Then, would you like it? Suddenly, some, 2000, some email which you received comes up. Now answer this. Answer this email. Every moment some email comes and says, answer this. Old one. You get very annoyed. So also, if our mind has to keep all the information alive, we go crazy. Thank God we are able to delete in our head. It's a mechanism that is already built in. Old one should get deleted. But some of the things you yourself don't want to get deleted. Sometime I need to refer to this. So certain things you keep it in your memory bank, alive all the time. You said this. She said this. Referring. Dated 1994. September 25. See that. So in our mind, we do keep certain things alive. But most of it get deleted, naturally. Bhagavan says, therefore, you don't remember all of them. You don't need to. So all actions that we have done in the past lives or even in this life gets deleted from our memory. But the result of it, we have to experience. The result will not go anywhere. You have done something, the result of those actions will come to you, even though what you have done, you will forget. But the result of that will definitely, until you experience, it will not go away. You are taught a lesson. Your exams will continue until you have learnt a lesson. You have not learnt a lesson from this mistake? No, it will come back again. Chalo, ek baar karo. Like your math teacher, he'll give you a particular math problem. You do it and you are not able to get the answer to it. You could not solve it. No? Okay, I'll give you another problem. You will not again another problem. Until you know how to solve that. A true teacher will do that. Life is a great teacher. Until you learn, lessons will be repeated. In one form or the other, it will come back again. So even though we discard the physical bodies, earlier also in second chapter it says, Vasam chijirnani yata vihaya navani grihnadi naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani grihnadi. Just like a person who has, when the particular cloth is worn out or torn or whatever it is, you discard and take a new one, so also the soul continuously discards the old bodies and takes a new one. So therefore, rebirth and karma theory are totally connected to each other. Without the concept of rebirth, you cannot explain karma theory. Without explaining karma theory, you cannot explain the rebirth, because they are hand and glove connected to each other. Because of the karma that is done, every action must have a result. Every result must go to the person who did it. Therefore, you have to come back to experience it. So rebirth is explained. And why rebirth? From the other standpoint, you can, why we have rebirth, or why we are so different from each other, why one is suffering, another is enjoying, why one is intelligent, another is an idiot. So this explanation is also because we have the past actions. So he says, "Oh Arjuna, all that I have gone through, I know from the beginning. All the past lives I remember. You don't. Now, why that you remember and I don't?" Another question. He says, "I remember all the actions that I have done because I did it on my will. And you didn't do it on your choice. You are made to do this. Your birth is not voluntary. Your birth is mandatory. Your own past actions have made sure that you take this physical body and work it. And therefore, you didn't have a choice of what to do and what not to do. You have been forced by your own past to do it, to learn from it, to exhaust your experiences. Whereas I consciously has taken this birth for a particular purpose, finishing which my work is over. That is why it is seen Mahatmas like Swami Vivekananda, Shankaracharya and Namdev, or many Jnaneshwar, etc. Once their work is done, they just quit. I have come for a purpose, my work is done, I am done. Because there is no need for extending it to accumulate more actions. Christ, Buddha, very much aware why they have come. We, at the age of 72, we realize, oh, I have come for this purpose. By the time you have done enough to suffer for another 200 lives. Earlier the better. Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacha arjuna tani aham veda sarvani natvam vetta parantapa. Clear distinction between, therefore, the Lord Ishvaraha, Bhagavan, and the here Jiva, the egoistic existence. Hmm. And not remembering the past. So somebody would say, Swamiji, this is a usual argument people say. Is it not better that we remember the past so that we don't repeat that again? Don't you have that question? Swamiji, if only know what we have done in the past, because of which we are suffering right now, so that we don't repeat that mistake again. Why not we remember it? It would have been better. Yes or no? Don't you think so? If only I remember all of those. Now the answer to that question is, the result of those action only you are experiencing now. You must be intelligent enough to understand from the effect the cause. How does science proceed? You tell me. What is the nature of science? From the effect, find out the cause. Is it not true? That is what is called learning. What is learning? If the teacher gives, this is a problem and this is a solution, finished. Will you learn? Will you learn? If every problem that is given to you is a solution is also given, now you learn. How will you learn? Because I have not done anything for that learning. The whole human mind or intelligence is well growing up because it is trying to understand the nature of the cause by observing the effect. That is what is called learning. Therefore, a teacher also should not give all the answers to all problems. He will give the problem. You find out the answer. That is what is called learning. Methodology of thinking is given, but not solution. A teacher will give you how to think and not this, does not solve problem for you. It's not like medicine, huh? Oh, I have a stomach ache. What should I do? Find out. The doctor, you will never go to you. You go to the doctor and he say, okay, ये दवा ले लो ना. इसमें क्या है? Then he will give you all the compounds. Where is this compound coming? That is, you just take it. So to a doctor, you don't ask what is it, tell me what is the ingredients that are there, why, which chemical works on which particular part of the body. You just take it. But that is not learning. Learning is where, what is they say, he is learning medicine. You know, master, what do you call that? MBA, master of? Not MBBS, what is it? Or MD, master of? Doctor of medicine. That means you learn what works with for what. That is learning. As a patient, you don't learn. But as a doctor, you will learn. I hope. I don't know. Or they are given just by heart or memorize all this. For this problem, this is a medicine. This problem, this is a medicine. Not like that. What are the combinations that will solve this problem? That is what is called learning. So, in life, if we are to grow from one level to another level of maturity, we must recognize from the effect of the action what could have been the action that is done by me, which has resulted in this. Therefore, by understanding the nature of result, you know what could be the cause. And thereby, you will not repeat it. It is not for a particular action, particular result. And not that the result, what you have understood, is for a particular action. It's many different actions have resulted in this. So therefore, from the result, you understand what are the possible causes which have caused this. That is what is called human existence, human birth. Only in human birth, where we have the ability and acumen to learn from the result, from the effect, and we can understand the cause, thereby we can solve our own problems. That is why human birth is so precious. Animals cannot do that. They live by instincts. They do not have that intelligence to understand this. So therefore, Bhagavan Krishna says, every occasion, every experience in your life is for you to learn. And therefore, you do not remember what you have done in the past. But you can learn by seeing the results of your action, understand the cause of it. Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava charjuna tanyaham veda sarvani natvam veta parantapa. Now, he answered one question to him. What is that? How is that you remember and I don't remember? Right? Because I have consciously taken this particular form and aham Ishvaraha or Bhagavan, and therefore I have idea about what I have done in the past, even the first one, which I gave as knowledge to son, that I remember. The second question that Arjuna raised was, why have you come right now? What is the purpose of your birth here? So that is an interesting answer that he gives in the next verse, that is verse number 6. Ajo bisannau vyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim swamadhishtaya sambhavamyatma mayaya ajo bisannau vyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim swamadhishtaya sambhavamyatma mayaya. Oh, you are the son of Aja, Ajobi's son? Here the son is not S-U-N. Oh, Ishvara's son? Ishvara Bhutanam Ishvara will be son. No, it's not that son. Yeah, Arjuna, you see me as a physical body, right? In front of you standing there, I am birthless. Ajaha, Ja means born. Ja jayate. Jalaja means jalad jayate jalaja. Karmaja, punyaja. Ja when you add in Sanskrit, meaning it is born of. Swetaja, Padmaja. You know the Padmaja? Padmaja means one who is born out of lotus. Padmaja. Padma jayate. From Padma it is born. Now Padmaya jayate. Right? Padmaya jayate. From, anyway. So here, Ajaha means unborn. Unborn I am. What do you mean? I see you in front of you, how can you be unborn? Avyayaha, imperishable, never gets old. I see you are old, 75 years old. Bhutanam Ishvaraha api, I am the Lord who is in the heart of every living being. So if you are unborn, undecaying, and the Lord who is dwelling in everybody's heart, how do I understand you as this? Son of Vasudeva, Krishna. Again, many different authors have given different ideas about this. Very interesting one. First one is, this body that you are seeing, like your body, physical body is. Mine also a physical body, but there is a big difference. What? As I said before, this physical body of yours, you have no choice. It's given to you. You are not born out of your mother's womb said, I think I don't like this body. Can you change it, please? You have no choice. You are born to this body, stuck with that. Of course, nowadays they change. That's why I'm not talking about that. Hair color you change. Nowadays, even before the birth of the child, you can change the color of the eyes. And DNA can be changed. In curly hair instead of long hair. Skin color, eyebrow color. That can be changed. DNA. You get into the DNA. Like what they do to the fruits and vegetables also. I am very afraid of eating fruits in this part of the world, I am telling you. All oranges are perfectly shaped. That I am very doubtful. How can they be all of them perfectly shaped? Correct round. And all of them sweet. This is really scary to me. All of them. Because when growing up, I've seen, until you open and take out that thing, you will never be sure whether the orange will be sour or sweet or no taste at all. You cannot. No. Any orange you take, tastes the same. When everything is in order, you have a doubt. There's somebody working on it, right? So you go to your teenagers, your own son's room, and everything is lying here, there. Then you know he is normal. Everything is perfectly in order. Then he wants something out of me. That's why he is, I think he is planning to ask something because I know he knows that I'm going to visit him. See, you go to a lion's den. Is there everything in order? There's a box which says meat put there inside and the blood in another bottle. You don't see that. Everything is chaotic, thrown here and there. That is normal, wild thing. That is your child also, if it is there, correct. That's what they are. Janvar. So, if a place is where everything is in order, there is some intervention of somebody. If the chairs are neatly kept and everything is there, somebody has done the intelligent work here. If everything is thrown up here and there, then normal Indian program is like that. You throw it. No, but nothing is in order. So that means every orange is sweet, everything is so wrong. That means what? Seed, less. No seed at all. Somebody has GMO'd it. Genetic modification has taken place there. So intervention of human is there. Some intelligent intervention is there. Why did I talk about that? Why am I talking about that? Yes. Yeah. So we are given this physical body. We have no choice. But that is not the way I was born. Even though I am birthless, I have taken to this physical body. Ajob is son. Son means being. Ajaha api. Even though I am not subject to birth, number one. Number two, even though I am imperishable, avyaya. Vyaya means to, vyayam gacchati, vyaya. That which perishes. Aham avyaya. I am imperishable. In all religion, God is said to be imperishable, omniscient, omnipotent. So even though I am imperishable, not subject to change, there are 6 changes it is said to be. Asti, jayate, vardate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, vinashyati, iti, shadvikaraha. There are 6 modifications that is always in the case of any object. It is born, it grows, it changes, it decays, and finally it perishes, dies. These are the 6 changes. Asti, it is. Jayate, born. Vardate, grows. Viparinamate, changes. Apakshiyate, decays. Vinashyati, perishes. These 6 changes are called vyayas. So, avyayaha aham. First one itself we said, aham ajaha, not born. Only when the thing is born and it can go through all the changes. Do you see horns on my head? Do you see horns on my head? Somebody said not yet. But it is not there. Na asti. Tasmat na jayate. See, if it is not there, there is a question of it is coming to manifest. Not there means what? It is not in a particular form to appear. So he says, Na aham ajah, I am not born. Therefore, that which is not born doesn't grow. That which doesn't grow doesn't change. If it doesn't change, it doesn't decay or die. Why? It is not even born. So the Lord is ajah, meaning unborn, which does not mean na astiti. Not that not there. It is not subject to gross physical manifestation. Lord is not as a being, not as a particular form. But as we are, as a religious person, we want to have a form for God for us to identify with. Otherwise, we are not able to focus. Think of, okay, if I ask you, think of space, what will you do? You get spaced out. Because there is nothing you can think of. Can you think of space? Space. No object. Space. Because the reality, the truth is dimensionless, formless, abstract. So it is not possible for our human gross intellect to contemplate or think about something which has no particular form. So the Lord himself by nature is pure conscious presence, not in any particular form. Therefore he says, aham ajaha, unborn. Therefore, avyaya, not subject to any change. But if you are not born and not subject to change, next question is, are you really there? Bhutanam Ishvaraha api. That's the point there. I am as the Lord of the whole, all living beings. Otherwise, something like I said, horn on my head is also not born. That means what? It's not there. Don't have a doubt, huh? You really don't have. He says, Swami, you may say that, but you may have inside this. So, Lord, when he says, I am unborn, not subject to change, does not mean I don't exist. Aham Ishvaraha. Ishvaropi Bhutanam. I am the Lord dwelling in the heart of all beings as their own real nature. Ishvara. So then, the question that Arjuna would raise it up is, why or what form I am seeing right now? If you are unborn, what's this form? Krishna smiles and says, Swam pragritim adhishtaya yuga yuge sambhavami atma mayaya. I take up the nature under my control and I create myself with my power of Maya. Prakritim swam adhishtaya, taking control of this Prakriti nature, Sambhavami, come to manifest. Atma Mayaya, with my own power called Maya. In Mahabharata, Bhagavan Krishna tells Narada, Maya kesha maya srishta yanmam pashyati Narada sarva bodha gunair yuktam natumam drashtum arhasi. Maya hi esha maya srishta. This Maya called my own power is Maya srishta. This particular form which you are seeing me as Krishna, O Narada, is my creation, and this you can see because I wanted you to see. Meaning, this manifestation not a physical gross presence, it is only for you to see. That is the beauty of God's manifestation. Our body is made of gross matter. everybody can see. But the Lord, when He takes the form, He decides who should see this. If I don't want you to see, you will not see me. Sarvabhuta gunair yuktam natumam drashtumarhasi. I have the quality of all the elements. Unless I want you to see, you will not see me. Once it so happened, our Swami Tejomayanji was here some 10 years back. So he visited us, like next year he is coming to visit us. So some 10 years back when he came and he was leaving, and so he was going to international airport. So we have taken a car for him, limousine car for him to get dropped. It's a limousine has the dark, windows, right? So I was busy with the thing, so I was not joining him. So he got into the car, and then the driver, just before leaving, he put the glass up. But Swamiji opened it himself. I am God, he said to me. I said, what do you mean? I can see you, you cannot see me. Unless He wishes you to see, you will not be able to see it. Even in the 11th chapter, when he started showing his Vishwarupa, to specific people only He will show. Not everybody. So the nature of the Lord is that even though He appears to be like a human being for us, for the Arjuna to see, He says, no, I am manifesting out of my own power, and therefore only those who wish to see, I wish them to see, they will see this. That's why when he was playing with Gopika, every Gopika has got one person. Every Gopika had one Krishna, because he decided to show to themselves individually. I am there with you, I am there with you, I am there with you, I am there with you. So that is the way we should understand. The Lord decides to show Himself in a particular form. Maya hi esha. That is why you see, like you take in the case of a magician, whether it is really or not is very doubtful, but you will see it. Like Copperfield or the such people. He will just delude you in such a way that you will see things what you want, he wants you to see. Or what he doesn't want to see, you won't see it. You have a choice. He may show certain things even though it is not there. He may make things disappear even though they are there. That is called Maya. That's the power. That's why he says, Prakritim swam avashtabhya sambhavami atma maya. By my own maya, my own illusory power, I will create myself, not like you as human being, where you have no choice and you are born out of gross physical things, but I am not. Why? It is said in the Upanishad very clearly, Tasmatva etasmat akasha sambhutaha. In Taittiriya Upanishad it is said, from that supreme presence alone, even the space has come. Akashat vayuhu, from the space the air. Vayoho agnihi, from the air the fire. Agnehe apaha, from the fire the water. Adbhya prativi, from the water the earth. Prativya oshadayaha, from the earth all the vegetables, all the vegetation. Prativya oshadayaha, oshadebhya annam, from those vegetation alone is food. Annat purusha, from the food alone we are. So our cross body is made up of food. Food is made up of earth, or the vegetation. Vegetation is made up of earth. Earth is because of water. Water is because of the fire. Fire is because of the air. Air is because of the space. Space is because of Him. So who are we? Gross manifestation of the Supreme Lord who is unmanifest. So therefore, Krishna says, Ajob is son, even though I am unborn. Avyaya Atma, myself being imperishable. Bhutanam Ishvaraha api, even though I am the Lord of all beings. Prakriti swam avashtabhya, having thus adhishtaya, having control of my own Prakriti, sambhavami, come to manifest, Atma Maya, by my own power of illusion. So how I come to manifest is not it's not mandatory that I have come here. It is involuntarily I have come here. I voluntarily has manifested in front of you and for this particular situation. Okay. Arjuna still doubts. Why? Then he will say, मैं अवतार हूँ. In this chapter there is an explanation about what is avatar. Not the movie, Avatar. Avataraha means coming down to our level. Through Taranam is to transcend, to move, to cross. Avataranam means coming down. Uttaranam means to go up. To go up is called Uttaranam. To come down is called Avataranam. So, Lord takes avatar. Avatar means coming down to our level. It is like when you are playing with your own children, or you are a grandfather, and after some years you will become a grandfather. Right? So when you become a grandfather and your child is 1 year old, 1 year or your grandchild, your grandchild is 1 year old, or few months old, would you not come to that level of the child to play with the child? And you make faces, that fellow wonders why. You make face like a monkey and then you will crawl like him and all those things. That is your avatar. For the sake of that child. You come down to the level of that child and that innocence to become a company to that child. Lord also to give company to the devotees and take care of them, come to their level. That is called avatar. So we'll see that in the next session. Why he came to that human birth. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkhavat bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.